Tonight we visit the Popple Shack, where the tradition of deer camp is not just for the old guys.
This property's been in my family since 1893.
We always compare opening day to Christmas Day. And both of us woke up several times Monday night looking at the clock to see, is it time to get up yet?
So sit back and relax. It's Monday night and it's time for Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone. Forest thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak. Surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields. Call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill. The eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
Tucked away throughout the forests of the UP are hundreds and hundreds of camps, or cabins, or shacks, or whatever you want to call them. I don't think any are referred to as cottages, though. Many of these camps are utilized throughout the year, but for 2 weeks out of the year, they become known as deer camp. The main premise of deer camp is a place to shelter while hunting for deer. But there are a lot of other reasons to go. Family, friends, the camaraderie, the stories, the food, the drinks, relaxation, nature, fresh air, getting away from technology, the list goes on. This season, I visited the Popple Shack. Not your stereotypical deer camp, because this year the ladies outnumber the men.
We start bringing stuff out before season.
Long ways before season.
2-3 weeks before season, and then
The two main camp dwellers during the season are a father and daughter duo, Tom and Adrian.
All right, this was the original first part of the camp that we built in 2002, but obviously that wasn't big enough. So then we moved into here and I built this on, the second half here. And then I figured that wasn't enough. I built another piece on in the back, but I'm pretty sure now I'm done building on. That's just the way it is. I'll just have to kick people out if it gets too crowded, that's all.
these two beds normally aren't here.
I mean, we fold them up and take them out then. Gives you a lot more room. This property's been in my family since 1893. You know, and actually it was my grandmother that owned it first. She bought it from an orange mining company. And then from there on, it just went through family member, and now it's ours. My old camp's down the road. That's been there since the early 1900s, but it's getting a little shaky, but you know, if you can imagine that.
Than
we had
anything.
Christmas out there a couple of years ago, so.
That's why all the Christmas
Yeah,
ornaments
we
are
didn't
up.
quite get all the ornaments down. In fact, we just took the garland down yesterday, or a couple of days ago in the kitchen. That picture on the wall there is my dad's unit in World War II.
That is be my Uncle PJ, so my dad's brother, John's dad, from his one season here. And that is the one I wear every year now.
Who's Rex?
Adrian's are there. Matthews are over there. My wife's are in that corner, right there. All the rest are mine. And there's a couple up here in the front that.
The big ones make the front room.
See, one up there is the wife's, two of Larry Schultz's, Matthews, Adrian's, and the other ones are mine. So we did get fortunate enough a few times to get some decent ones.
All harvested here on your property or no?
Actually, only
That one
on
was.
this property.
Mine was.
Only one.
Is that the only one?
Yeah. Most of them came from where I hunt normally, you know. The bigger ones anyway. The undisclosed location. I mean, there's not a whole lot of deer in this country. Even when there was the deer herders really up there, still wasn't a lot out here. You know, but now that there's even less. But usually if you see one, you got a good chance it's a decent buck when you do see a deer out here. You probably got a 50-50 chance, I'd say. that it's going to be something that you'd rather like to harvest. But first, you got to see one. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just ask Adrian. She ain't seen a deer in 2 days.
Bird watching.
I haven't seen a deer yet.
Yeah.
The Popple Shack has a lot of success in the hunting arena, and there is no shortage of antlers around the camp to prove it. And like most, those racks come with a story.
So it wasn't that many years ago I could tell every deer horn in here where I shot it, how I shot it, and when I shot it. But not
even like the whole camp you could tell you.
I could. But I tried doing that 6 months ago. Mine was getting a little fuzzy. I couldn't. Some I could, some I couldn't. November 28th, no snow. Matchatour Road. I went back to sit on a little food plot that the government had made. I got my brother's 30-30 Winchester. I walk back there and I sit on a log of an old road that goes into it. And I hear a buck grunt. I look up, there's deer running up the side of the field. He hits that road and turns around and runs right at me. Well, I stand up, and it's probably only 20 feet in front of me. He puts the brakes on, and his hind legs go between his front legs, and he flips over. So I had 7 shells in that 30-30, and I shot all 7 shells at him. Right from the hip. And he was still moving. But he was on the ground, so his gun was empty. So I reach in, I get another shell, pull up there, and I shoot again, and he's still going. I shot 10 times at that deer before he finally stopped. And I was rather excited, to say the least. So I finally get over there, and I was gonna got him out, so I flipped him over and stuff, and I went to stick my knife in, that deer come flying off the ground. I grabbed the rifle and I shot him behind the head then. I said, there, you ain't getting up again. So I go through all this, and I hear a buck grunt. I'm like, what? And I turn and I look. There's a buck that was chasing him, standing there watching me. And way bigger than the one I shot. And the one I shot weighed 220 pounds, an 8-pointer. And that's that one in that purple velvet up there. That's that buck. That was probably my most exciting one.
There's one small one in the front room.
If you notice that.
And that's my favorite story.
I had an accident, I can't remember, 30 years ago. And when I got out of the hospital, I didn't think I would ever, didn't even know if I could walk or anything, but I was in a walker and my back was broken. I was in a back brace, and I asked the doctor, I said, can I bow hunt? And my dad was alive yet then, and we were at the farm, and he's like, well, come on over. Well, he set me up a place just off the edge of the driveway in the woods, 10 feet in the woods, and I shot that buck. So that's the only reason that one's up in the front. I thought I'd
walked out there with his walker.
Walked out with my walker, yeah. My bow strapped to my back, and then when I came out, he was watching through the window, and he come down and picked me up, and because I didn't think I'd ever bow hunt again, Yeah,
that one was
opening day 3 years ago.
Yeah.
9 in the morning, maybe 8:39.
I mean, you didn't have time for your first nap even.
I didn't have a sandwich. I didn't do anything. And I was hunting back here. And there's no cell phone service, so I shot him, and I drug him to the blind and left him there, and I came in, and I tried to send a message to him, and it would not go through.
Because where I hunt, there's really iffy cell phone service at best, so.
And then he came walking up the hill not much later into camp, and I said, you got my message? He goes, no, I got a deer. And I said, so did I. I said, what'd you shoot? He was 8-point that year. Mm-hmm. And he goes, what'd you shoot? I said, an 8-point. So we had drug that one in. And then we went to loggers and weighed those ones.
And weighed them, yeah.
Mine was noticeably bigger than his.
Yeah, that year, her deer was bigger. I'll have to give her that.
And the best part was when we were at loggers weighing it, because everybody comes out to see a deer being weighed. Mm-hmm. They all went up to congratulate him on his nice buck.
No, I didn't shoot it. He shot it, not me.
So that was pretty cool. But I didn't win the biggest deer that year. I got beat out.
Yeah, I got 15 pounds.
He was 170.
170 pounds.
I know that my chance of seeing deer where I hunt is slim, but I also know that if I see a deer, a good chance is it's going to be a nice buck. So you put in the time and you hope for the best.
Then the one she shot 2 years ago, so I shot a 10-point. All excited, of course, right?
Oh,
Crying. And so I had already shot my buck, and I was on my way out of the woods. So when she called, and she's like, "What about you?" I said, "Think about it. I don't have phone service. If you're talking to me, you know I'm out of the woods, and there's only one reason I'm out of the woods, right? Because I shot a deer."
So he gets in, and we go out to my deer.
Still back out there, and
where he dropped,
like,
and
he 10-pointer, and
he was Adrian. Count again.
I said, "You shot the horns off." She's like, "What? What?" I said, "Yeah, you shot 2 horns off."
It was an 8-pointer. But I was so excited when I first went up to him. I counted 10 points. I was tears in my eyes.
She even tagged it as 10 points. So
This year is no different when it comes to successful hunts at the Popple Shack, and in the first few days of the firearm deer season, Tom and Adrian were tagged out. So they didn't really have to put in a lot of time this year.
yeah, it was a long day of nothing. Absolutely nothing. East wind. Who gets the east wind in November? And I had contemplated actually of leaving the blind. And then about 4:30 in the afternoon, I noticed that the wind shifted a little bit. I said, well, I might as well stay here. It's only another hour and a half. 5:30, that doe made it in then. 5:32, he was chasing after. But he didn't make it away though. So it worked out. But that was the extent of the deer sightings for the day yesterday. But that's all you need though.
The morning after I filmed this interview, Adrian texted me that she had just shot a buck. So of course, I had to go check it out.
Had coffee with the rest of the cabin, and they all went back to bed. And I headed to the blind, probably 10 to 7, walked out. And there was lots of activity through the woods, you could tell. So that had me with high hopes, and they hit my bait pile last night. And right after I got nestled in the blind, a doe came in, and she was pretty antsy. And so I was ready to see what was coming. And my cousin across the bluff texted me that he passed on a 7-point, and it was headed my way. And within 20 minutes, there he was. And I didn't know what he was. I assumed that's the deer it was. I just saw 4 points and I shot. And I knew instantly that I got him. He just had a long run, so we had to do some tracking to find him and pull him out through the brush, and that's it. Yeah, he didn't, when he came up, all I saw was like this set here. He came from, it would be the north of me on my right-hand side and straight to the doe that was standing there. So he turned a little bit, and obviously he bent down and picked a carrot up, and I am done. I only had a single tag this year, so I am done.
Adrian's buck weighed in at 147, so it looks like Tom's deer might win the buck pool this year at 185.
Everybody puts their money in for the buck pool.
Mm-hmm. Camp buck pool?
Yeah.
So we all pretty much donate to Tom every year.
Most of the time.
More often than not. That's how it works.
Well, I was just, what was I telling you?
Yeah.
I think I've been in this pool for like 20 years, and I think I've won it 12 out of the 20. And some years has been pretty nice.
You're off to a pretty good start.
We've had,
It's dwindled over the years, the amount of people.
we've had over 20 people in the heyday, but so them were good checks. But, did we get 10 people this year?
Maybe.
Larry's got Murray's money, so there's another person.
Probably 40, 50 bucks, I think.
I can take it.
So what is it, first buck or biggest
Heaviest,
buck?
just the heaviest buck, yeah. And we've had some people known to maybe try to stretch it a little bit. I'm not going to mention names, but
Shove a bowling
put a
ball
bowling
in the
ball up in a
cavity.
deer cavity to get made. Or hang on a little bit on the bottom of the scale when they don't think nobody's looking, and take a picture of it, you know.
We try to always weigh them all at Larry Schultz's house, so it's fair.
Same scale.
Some of us just leave it outside in the ice and snow all night.
That's all it
Let
works.
it pick up about 5 pounds.
You know, there's more than one way, you know, without actually cheating.
It's all natural.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So that's always fun.
So cheating's recommended?
It's all in good fun.
Yeah.
It's not cheating.
For the first year ever, we have more girls at hunting camp than guys.
So she's been up 3 years now. And this is her first year. The chronic napper.
Joining the Popple Shack this year are Tom's nephew John and his daughters Madison and Emily.
I say, as somebody who's not, I guess I'm originally from Michigan, but certainly not from the UP, and I certainly haven't lived here. I can tell you, deer hunting and things like that, like in Nebraska, which is where we live now, people do it, but they don't talk about it. It's just not part of the daily conversation. You come up here, it's
a lifestyle.
It's beyond a lifestyle. It's on the radio, it's in every bar, everywhere you stop, people are asking, you know, who's gotten bucks and where and how big, and everyone's congratulating each other, and it's great. I mean, just even today going to lunch, we stopped at Char's Cafe and just heard probably 5 or 6 different people sitting around telling their stories. The waitresses were talking about it. It's so different. It's a completely immersive experience. And something we certainly don't get. And Nebraska is a state that hunts, which is kind of weird.
We all know that deer season is one of the biggest holidays in the UP, and for those that go to deer camp, it's something to look forward to all year long.
We always compare opening day to Christmas Day. Like Monday, we were in bed by 8 o'clock.
Better than Christmas. We were. Maybe not when I was 5 years old, but when I was 7 and could carry a gun, then it was better.
Yeah, we were. That's just. And both of us woke up several times Monday night looking at the clock to see, is it time to get up yet? Which I think he had the alarm set for 5. He was out of bed at about 4:15, and I was a couple minutes after that.
But I made coffee and breakfast, and I woke all these ones up. You know, that day we're still snoring.
This one starts packing probably 2 months before we come. Every year.
Well, did you see that bag of snacks she packed? It takes that long.
Another tradition I've learned over the years of visiting deer camps is that mealtime is sacred.
Well, deep fried grouse and French fries are pretty darn good.
It is good.
We ate that last night.
I honestly think my favorite, though, is venison steak and homemade hash browns.
Yeah, can't hard to beat
That's
that.
my...
You know, we got to have good meals every night. That's the number one. You always eat better at camp than you do at home.
Yeah, for sure.
There's no scrimping. Let's say that. No matter what meal you're cooking, whether it be breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or you know.
Snacks on the blind. All good.
Like Emmy's got to bring 2 backpacks, one just for snacks when she goes to the blind.
She actually has a fishing vest. Yeah. Instead of putting tackle and stuff in it, she actually fills it each pocket with snacks. She puts her water bottles and her sandwiches and everything in it.
It's normally empty by the time we get home.
Hey, I'm the same way. My food's always gone by the end of the day.
But she portion controls that way. She, you know, like 3 or 4 Reese's peanut butter cups, then, you know, her sandwich.
Deer camp is someplace special. If you know, you know. For those who don't, if you ever have a chance to even stop by for a visit, it's something you need to experience at least once in your lifetime. And now that deer season is wrapping up, some stories we have lined up for December are wild rice harvesting, squirrel hunting, making traditional bows, and more.
Uncle. There you go.
Oh,
Well, hi.
now I'm high.
That's okay. So we got the glue on all the limb parts. Now we just got to glue up the riser, and I'll tape that in place on the form.
What I'm trying to do is just scout out for squirrels. See, you know, even if I bump them and they run down a little bit either side, at least I know there's squirrels in the area.
What we need to harvest rice is we need a canoe. This is called a push pole. And this is made out of a conifer. We use this to purchase in the secondary root system, and it allows me to push the canoe through the water.
That's all for tonight, and I hope to see you right back here next week for Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.